remind me to unmute so that, oh, but Paul's here, it doesn't matter. Our mics are on now, and now the person's gone.
Oh.
They're probably gone because they couldn't hear us, so they're like, Come back, one person.
Hey Tim, why don't you write down the number and I'll go call from the city phone.
Oh, sure.
See if they'll answer them, because sometimes people are.
Can you
like,
call from this one?
"Put your write it right on you." Oh, okay, I can try that.
Or you can use my office if you want. Cause I don't answer numbers of it.
Yeah, I just say, it would surprise me. He's like, oh, I'm not taking my call.
I don't have a phone for myself, so that's.
And we have comments turned off, so it's not like,
Yeah, that's
if I said, who's our one
We'll get
person
our-
watching?
I know
Maybe it's
that
him.
the McConnells watch religiously. They told me, they said that they've never missed the plan commission meeting, but it's on YouTube.
Wow. Who does that for fun?
Maybe they hope that we're gonna like magically make it awesome for grocery store here. Which would be nice, but.
And they're gone again. I could have been at the farmer's market's wedding still. Actually, I brought my sweater because I thought I was gonna be freezing in here.
It was pretty cool this morning for BCDC. Actually, it felt nice because it was already muggy and hot,
Yeah,
7 a.m.
You have BCDC in here?
Mm-hmm.
Is it set up like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a,
Yeah, because like we have, well, it's not full right now, but I think we have,
we're one short of full.
yeah,
that still blows my mind because a BCDC isn't a city.
yeah, we are.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
Partial.
No, they're not a city entity.
but they administer the city's revolving loan fund.
Mhm.
That still just blows my mind.
Half of
It's
our
such a
meeting-
weird,
Half of our meeting is, the revolving loan fund part is city, but then we have separate, because it's just a BCDC. We have like 2 meetings, they're back to back, but
For what it's worth, Wilshire County has the same type of.
oh, I gotta change my camera,
identical
move my camera,
organization as
I
the
can't
county
see, oh
law
no, I
firm.
can see Paul.
Is a nonprofit that administers their revolving loan fund and also does other economic development stuff.
nice.
Green Lake doesn't though.
If anybody's out there watching, we're just waiting for a quorum.
It's nice in here, we're not sweating, so
Oh, I was dying at the farmer's market.
it's.
Yeah.
There was a breeze though. If there wasn't, well, towards the end I walked out. Then it's like somebody shut the switch off.
It was about 4:45, Priscilla got the message that they were gonna cancel their softball game for tonight.
I don't, the part I don't understand is they've been predicting this for a week.
They've played in this kind of weather before.
Just
though,
like half the
last
vendors
summer.
that are like, there was one that canceled this afternoon. Well, I was just waiting to see how hot it would really get.
They thought it was gonna get less
You
than,
knew how hot it was getting.
yeah, they extended the heat warning until
Yes.
tomorrow at 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Lucy has golf in the morning. 8:45 to noon. I'm gonna die.
You might, yeah. Yeah, we, for the greenhouse, we just had the lady, told her she could come in early, get everything watered and then head out when she was done, and then called our second shift person and said, if you don't wanna come in today,
Yeah.
that's fine. And I literally had one person that I know of that was out there shopping, and she bought like 7 fairly heavy ceramic pots, so that was fun to load.
It's like,
Of
happy,
all days,
happy
today's
for
the
the
day.
sale, but
Yeah. But, yeah.
You see that, Paul? I unmuted. I will call this meeting to order of the City of Berlin Plan Commission meeting, June 30th, 2026, at now 6:15 PM. Can I have a roll call, please?
Burgess,
Here.
Cannon,
Here.
Langley,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
and Reeves.
Here. Thank you. We have no general public comments. Move on to number 4, which is the approval of minutes from the Plan Commission meeting on May 26th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from May 26, 2026.
I'll second.
Kayla and Terry, sorry. Motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to number 5, which is the open public hearing for rezoning request from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Residential District from Jeff Lynn, 381 Cumberland Street, parcel number 206-01666-0200. I will open that public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for? Anyone wishing to speak for? Anyone wishing to speak for? If not, anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone wishing to speak against? Last call, anyone wishing to speak against? If not, I will close that public hearing. On to number 6 is the decision. We're looking for a recommendation for the approval of the rezoning request from Jeff Lind from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Residential District. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? We obviously talked about this one last time and it seemed like a no-brainer.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agricultural to R1 Residential District from Jeff Lind at 381 Cumberland Street, parcel number 206-01666-0200.
I'll second that.
Motion by Kayla, second by Terry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just to clarify, that has to go to the council as well,
Yes.
just so you're aware.
What's that?
The rezone actually has to go to the council as well.
So it's a motion to send it to town council.
So now it goes to council? Okay, when's that happen?
July 14th.
14th, okay, you might have said that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, then number 7 is non-conforming agriculturally zoned lots. Presentation of quadrants where plans allow for amending the map. Recommendation is discussion and action is appropriate. And this would have been stemmed from his discussion last time, right? Isn't this? Okay.
Yeah, it's trying to pull together and hopefully make sense of what the discussion was like the last time here and, yeah, had in black and white, but I can just quickly say that these are the ones that are outlined are old and non-conforming ones that at least, and I did that in quadrant just because that was a scale where it's a little bit microscopic still, but you can see where these concentrate. There are some areas where these do have concentrations along certain streets. And then the ones that have the indigo dots on the inside are the ones that where our existing land use, future land use, and utilities all align where it would make sense to, and be good planning practice for them to be able to be rezoned if that were the will of the plan commission / council.
I mean, so what obviously I think I'm the one to kind of question, like, if this doesn't match, why are they all like this? I mean, can you kind of allude to how much work this is going to be? Like, is this what you would recommend now that we know about it?
So as I may have mentioned last month, I've had a version of the spreadsheet for a little while, which fortunately I did because this would have otherwise been more time consuming.
Sure.
And I think that, I mean, it really is just whenever plan commission / council would like to get this all cleaned up, I'd say at some point it would be good planning practice.
I know that you've been making these adjustments a lot, as we go, whether it's downtown, issues, or one issue arises, it kind of brings to light, stuff that should be changed or updated, but
Yeah, what my recommendation here was,
so there's 25 properties without any barriers in the plan. If the city were to offer rezoning R1 or R2. Wait, am I on the right?
and some of these are already rural residential because they at least as they currently stand, are not connected by one of their directions to a residentially zoned property. Though, obviously, once these all get rezoned, I think I made some notes that they might have the option to be done as like R1 or R2, depending on what the one next to them would be in the series of these being rezoned, or if we were to space these out to try to strategically get the ones that are immediately able to go to residential, and then see what.
I mean, what are the pros and cons here? Have you had anybody come forward that, other than him, that has, I guess, brought it to light, or?
I've had some come forward, but a lot of them are the ones that own larger lots, and at first they think that it's gonna be a difficulty, and then they find out that they have 2 to 5 acres, and that 50-foot setback's not that much of a barrier for them. It's really.
Or they just don't seem to care. I mean, from the impression that we got from Jeff, his neighbors have done whatever they wanted, and he was the only one
Did it the correct way?
that correct.
Yeah, too.
So,
I mean, I was just curious, I know we just worked on cleaning up all our maps with our comprehensive plan. And if it just made sense, like, while we're doing that, while we know about it, is this something we take care of? I guess, Jesse, what's your thought?
So when you adopt the comprehensive plan, now any changes that you make to our zoning maps, you have in that comprehensive plan a future land use map.
Mhm.
So any changes that you make need to match the future land use map, or else you have to go back and amend that future land use map. So basically, that's your guide of where you guys see the future of the community. And Tim, correct me if I'm not wrong, but from my brief look at this, all of these are fine with the future land use map. Because the future land use map doesn't say specifically this should be R1 or R2 or RR1. It gives more general, like it would be acceptable for this and this kind of thing.
Yeah, and arguably, I have to go through again and maybe read it a little more carefully, but I think rural residential may even be allowed for the ones that are not necessarily having residential as a future land use, or the neighborhood residential. But that's, again, I'd say that if you're making a priority list, that would probably not be number 1 or 2.
Well, so that was my question, is I mean, is this something we need to do? Again, I'm newer to this board. Is this something that we need to do, or we jump in the gun, and we just leave it alone?
So you're not required to do it by any means. However, as Tim said, it seems like it would be a reasonable planning practice if this is the comfort level of the plan commission, because you have several of these lots that are currently non-conforming as the agriculture. So if you can transition them to something that you believe to be the better planting practice, and it makes them conforming, and they pretty much are already operating as residential properties, right? I mean, unless you have a little farm or whatever, they're not using it as agriculture.
So then it would go to a hearing,
Yes.
and then, I mean, what if one person decides, I don't want to rezone mine? Do we pick and choose then which ones, or?
That would be up to you guys. You could definitely hear their thoughts and stuff. I would not suggest doing what we would call spot zoning, where like if you were gonna go all the way around it, then you're gonna have this one right in the
Sure.
middle.
Sure.
That, doesn't necessarily make sense, not a great planning practice. However, if they're on the edge and they're already next to another A1 and stuff, you can definitely do this, or what makes the most sense for our community, right? Tim, you have further comments on that?
Of the ones that were selected for this, I believe we tried to account for that. We tried to account for the ones that were highlighted and had the dots in them. And at least as far as I can do eyeballing, looked like they did not have structures that would make them into a different type of non-conforming type of property, which is one thing I guess I should say as a caveat for the ones that I did not fill in the parcels that are non-conforming, they may have more structures than would be allowed in, say, a residential zone.
I mean, this is not ready for a game time decision. This is Tim's put together a lot of information and work so that he can get from you some guidance, like what's your comfort level, what do you think makes the most sense, and then he can dive more deeply into.
Yeah, this is
To the
absolutely something
details.
where if you want to give it a few months to a year and just have it on the back of the mind of the commission, that's something that you can always, I think having this information together and having it where you can see the process means that we can, I mean, that's a.
I mean, I guess I'm fine if there's not a priority for it, we know it could be one that could be updated, I don't mind waiting. Does anybody else have any thoughts? I mean, when you see something else come up and you're like, okay, now is the time to do this, let's go forward with this, I'm fine with that too.
I am curious, you had talked about having a number of buildings on like property, what more than what it would be for residential. If we converted it from agriculture to residential and they had all those buildings, would they have to like rip them down then? Or are they grandfathered in because they already have them?
Yeah, that would, I believe,
Cause
I'd have to look exactly at some guidance documents, but I think that would be just essentially giving them a legal non-conforming status.
okay,
And it's kind of the same as some of the other, I mean, the buildings that are where if it's in a residential district and they have their house right on the sidewalk,
yeah,
those technically they're non-conforming, but they, yeah, regardless, we decided that as of a certain date, they were legal and, they're essentially considered legal to be as they currently are, but if they were to try to add on to that and become less conforming, that would be where the issue is gonna be.
okay. The only reason I ask is I feel like it would be, is something, if that was my property, I'd ask. Just, I'd shy away if I didn't have that
Right,
answer, so I feel like that should be readily,
Sure.
informed.
Yeah, I mean, this is,
So we just postpone this until we find a stronger desire to move forward with it?
yeah, and I could always send out some sort of, I mean, if it would make the commission feel comfortable, I could send out some sort of letter to the, essentially they have the list already of properties and see if there's, I mean, instead of it being a formal one that's more just, is this something that you're interested in?
That may cause more
More, yeah.
confusion, but it, I mean, information is good, just how we put it out there would be important, but I think at this point too, though, if there are concerns that you want looked into more deeply, or there is a certain goal in mind with this, if you communicate that to Tim, then, it won't come back next month, but it can be a back burner project until you tell them it needs to be a front project, So if there is any direction at this point, questions that you need answered or whatever, and to provide that to him so he can make sure that that's there when you do come to wanting to decide what to do.
Anybody else?
I'm curious about the fees for rezoning. Who would be responsible? Would we be responsible if we're initiating this conversation? Or,
I think as far as expenses go, there would be required notices and including the paper and mail notices, as far as I can tell right now, without, again, looking a little more in depth here. But the actual property owners, I'd say we've had situations like this before where the city had gone, I believe in 2002, they rezoned some planned unit development properties into residential, somewhat of a similar situation, and at that point, the city decided to redraw the map, and that's essentially what would be happening here. So it's,
So cost is publication.
yeah,
And we'd wanna update, make sure the maps actually, because this would be significant,
Yeah,
this is
this
not
would-
just one
we would
lot, so
absolutely
we want the
want to
maps
have
updated. So there would be some cost there too.
yeah, but yeah, it wouldn't be to any of the property owners. It would just be the usual sort of city costs that come in with any map amendment.
I guess I'm indifferent now, I'm not strong one way or the other, so.
Yeah, I guess, it's something we probably could look at in the future, but if it's not pressing to have it done right now, want to add that to your plate at the moment, we can come back to it in the future.
And again, if something else comes up and you're like, okay, yep, this is the right time now, I think, like, I'm all for that.
Yeah, the information's not going anywhere,
Right.
and we have, like I say, we have some sort of directions we can go with this.
And at least it's on the radar now, so it would make it easier if and when we decide to, but for now, thanks for putting it all together. I think we can move on. Good enough for you? All right, we'll move on to number 8, which is preliminary presentation of indoor recreational entertainment facilities and outdoor recreational entertainment facilities as conditional use in M1 and M2 zones.
Okay, so, and I could have highlighted this better on the actual, within this packet here, but I did look into a couple other ordinances besides, what we had discussed last month. There was a Weston and Middleton that also had this as a use. They had some things that were a little inconsistent with Berlin as far as, I think, floor area, but, otherwise, again, the sort of summarized version of what they had was that they were conditional uses that were allowed in their equivalent type of zones. So I'm feeling a higher degree of comfort if the planning commission would like to go forward with that. I think that the way that this was prepared in here allows you to distinguish between it and the uses that are currently allowed in conservancy zone, the recreational sports fields and complexes and the like. It also allows you to not be, it has remains distinguished from what's in the business zones as well, though you could go as far as making this permitted or conditional use of those as the primary use. It's probably more frequently an accessory use in that zone. So are there any questions with how this would look in the ordinance, or any concerns about just things I would not have maybe thought about as far as unintended consequences with it being written this way?
If I remember correctly, this has come about because you had somebody that's possibly inquired about this, and that's how we're going through, that wants to do something with the South Industrial Park building, possibly.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that this would essentially give them the ability to do that through the conditional use process, and that conditional use process would allow us to have enough controls on that so that it would be done appropriately on a property by property basis.
So it's not just a free-for-all.
They have to meet the ordinance standards, but if they meet the ordinance standards, essentially they would be allowed to have this.
That's an important distinction, that the conditional use has changed over the years. I say that because when I started 27 years ago, if you had a conditional use, the planning commission really did not have to grant it if it didn't feel it was absolutely beneficial. At this point, in my understanding, typically 7, if this is correct, if they meet the requirements that are listed as conditions in the code, you grant it. But it does allow you to take into consideration more stuff and everything, but you do need to make sure when you read through the conditions that you are hitting the things that could impact whether or not you think it's a good thing for the community. So it's still different than a permitted use, but if they can meet the requirements that you put as conditions, they're in. That didn't used to be the case. I don't know if that's changed since you guys have been on commission or not, but it's changed since I've been doing this. So.
And I did not print myself an extra copy of this, so I'm just referencing it here, but, yeah, the way that we had the definition, I tried to go for what would be, while still distinguishing this from the conservancy uses, this had examples included that are not limited to like bowling alleys, health clubs, skating rinks, billiard, parlors, miniature golf courses, batting cages, athletic complexes, and go-kart tracks. I mean, that was not an exhaustive list, and even so, our ordinance does allow for unspecified uses where if somebody were to come up with something that's similar, they could still ask the plan commission for clarification on that if it does or doesn't fall under that.
I mean, I personally think it's like a perfect area for it. And I support anybody willing to try to take this on so that they can, make better use of space that wasn't even possibly being used. I love the idea of it. I think it fits in that area or any area for that matter, any of those, described areas, but.
I think it'd be great to open up opportunities for more activities and things for people to do here in the community.
They're always asking for things for families and kids and youth and
Yeah.
you name it to do, so hopefully that's aligned with what they're thinking of also.
It's a good step in the right direction, that's for sure, opening the door for this.
So we are looking for, kind of motion are we looking for here, Tim?
All right, yeah, if you would like, I did have some options here, and I had asked that earlier, that, I mean, the commission can choose either, if you'd like to go forward with this, to amend to add these as conditional uses. Essentially, we would be able to have a hearing on this.
Sure.
I'd say if we can present this to the city attorney, just make sure that everything is fine, that there aren't any issues that they see with the way that it was drafted, have that for the public hearing next month.
Anyone would like to make that motion?
So do you want us to specify that they're send it to the city attorney first, or just what you have written down here to do
I think
the?
it would be our usual practice to make sure that the city attorney
So
doesn't make
everything
any
is set in there?
amendments. But, yeah, either way, I'll write down accordingly.
I will make a recommendation to direct staff to draft the amendment to add the commercial sports and recreation indoor and commercial sports and recreation outdoor as conditional uses in the M1 and M2 zones.
I'll second.
Motion by Terry, second by Kayla, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is preliminary discussion for residential single-family dwelling setbacks. The recommendation is investigating reducing to 5 feet or allowing all accessory buildings to be 3 feet setback based upon ICC and peer communities.
And I apologize for that acronym, International Zoning Code is what
Thank
that
you.
was. Yeah, don't know what I was thinking, writing it that way, but, yeah, there was I'd say, in my own research, a surprising consistency that occurred there, that it seems like, well, the 5 or 6 feet for the side setback seems to be the most common number, so I say that if we want to go the direction, New London, I think is an interesting example, because they did just rewrite their zoning code, and if you'd like me to look more into this, I can do so. I know some other communities that have also rewritten their zoning code and see if that trend sticks for maybe what others in the state are going towards, but I'd say that if they're a peer community and one that our inspectors work in even, that it could be logical to follow that direction as something that they find has had no harm to that community, going that direction. And also notice that virtually every community had the 3-foot setback for all accessory structures. So that was conventional for everybody. I believe the International Zoning Code actually had some situations where it included 0-foot setbacks for accessory structures. I'd say that we probably want to go more the direction of our peers that
3 feet.
the 3-foot, and that would, again, both of these also will help with, I'd say, new home builds and major remodeling in this area, and it might stimulate some home building and just be beneficial for those looking to do activity in this area. I should also mention that, as I think we had discussed last month, the ideas of accessory dwelling units and zero lot lines are also something we've been looking into. Nothing was ready in that front for this meeting, but, if those were to be something that we look into, we might wanna consider that these, any changes we make to these setbacks may also inadvertently make those uses, well, able to adhere to those setbacks.
Can you, can you give an idea, give an example of some of these accessory buildings that you have had, or accessory items that have come up recently, that have been an issue for others?
Yeah, I mean, garages and sheds are frequently ones that we have questions about, and yeah, I'd say that the desire of people is always to have as much flexibility to put them on their property where they would like to and would be good for their having vehicles, having toys, what have you, that, the purposes that they serve. So, I mean,
Would this affect, the chicken coops? Because what is the chicken ordinance? The 6 or 10 feet from the,
yeah, it's 10 feet from the property line, though,
And so many feet from the actual structure, someone else's structure too.
right,
yeah.
I'm just wondering how many, you know, is a play set, an accessory structure? I'm just
Yeah,
wondering what
at least
things are
that's our-
qualifying right now, you know, what
At least
things
that's
are,
are under that, and, yeah, pools obviously are another one. There's an exhaustive list that I could
okay,
bring, but yeah, it's essentially anything that's not the house on the
Okay.
property is what this falls under, and yeah, you can probably imagine how some of those uses would do no harm to be a couple feet closer to the property line. That's, as I said, that's pretty much the consensus that we have, I think, everybody that is looking at as far as pure communities and all the accessory buildings or accessory structures at 3 foot. It did not harm the character.
does anybody have any questions or input? I guess my only, comment would be, I know that, communities are starting to go with underground wiring. And I know that having it overhead is a setback for a lot of people, where they can place things in their yards. And it's not something that they're gonna fix for us overnight. I don't know how and when they choose to do that kind of project, but if they're large projects.
And that has been an issue that I've had several people that have been talking about the electrical codes with our inspectors and trying to figure out how to make a good argument to have that done. Yeah, that's one of the issues, and I'd say that we're trying to take the big picture view here as far as, this is for the general public and it should be a public benefit to adjust this, any sort of shortcomings, I think, are mitigated by just the almost convention of these two areas being relaxed.
I will say even chatting with the building inspector and, some of my own projects, 3 feet rolls off their tongue very easily. It's obviously 3 feet is something that's used by many other surrounding
Yeah,
communities, so I have,
Yeah, I've run into the same thing with them, that that's their convention so much that when I have to
correct.
when I've corrected it, like, that's more than 100 square feet, can be, yeah, a little bit uncomfortable part of the process, but this, yeah.
So your recommendation would be the staff or proceeding the direction of size?
I would absolutely
5 feet and
say
3
that.
foot.
The 3 foot to me seems to be a no-brainer because everybody else that we have here, I can name them off, the Wilcafa, Griffin,
Right.
Monroe, New London, all of those were the 3 foot for all accessory structures. I think that's a very safe way to go. I also think that just from what I hear as far as the state conversations, economic development trying to stimulate housing getting built, that 5 foot I think is gonna be more the direction that people are gonna look just to make the most of their square footage, especially, in the case of Berlin, we do have some smaller residential lots, even non-conforming ones in that sense that, again, this may offer people that 1 foot may make a big difference, even if it's sort of subtle.
So what, the recommendation was investigating, reducing, like, what is our next step? If we all decide that yes, this sounds,
Oh, I would kind of go like with our last item where I could present and say the draft version of what the amendment would be like next month. And if it looks good in that, then we would go forward and have it go, make sure that the city attorney is all right with that and we can then do the formal hearing.
anybody else have any other questions, comments? Do you need a motion for this, or are we good just going forward with the drafting?
And you're just,
I think
I mean, we
you
have-
want to clarify the 3 or the 5, right, Tim?
oh, sure, yeah.
But
If you'd like to just accept both of those,
Does anybody have any issues with the 5 and 3? 5 feet for the side setbacks and 3 foot for the accessory buildings?
So go ahead, just confirm with everybody else, yeah.
so should also ask, just because I did not put as much time into looking into these areas because they were off topic, but do we think that there may be some utility looking at the lot size and any of the other setbacks and making a similar comparison at some point? Maybe not next month, but
As far as for what?
just for residential lots.
See how they're.
And that's another one where,
Communities.
I mean, I think I had marked on here that number of them had a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size, which again is probably try to make for a little more density and make it a little easier to build a house or subdivide it. That may be something that affects if we were to go like the 0 lot line route, having it where they need to be 8,000 square feet for essentially what's 1/2 of the duplex's lot may be difficult, but anyway, we can always discuss that at that point too.
Okay,
Okay.
good? Okay. On to number 10 is old business. Anybody have any old business that they want to discuss? If none, number 11, new business, anything for new business? If not, our next meeting date is July 28th. Are we all gonna be here for that one? Just a reminder, if we're going to not be able to make it, please let Tim or Jesse know. So we can make sure we have a quorum with being down a couple of members. We're down the bare minimum. If not, number 13. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Kayla and Terry, all in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 6:48 PM.